Good morning, guys. I hope everybody is well. Before I start to read chapter 3, I wanted to go over a few things for Flush. It seems like a lot of you skipped the assignment for part 2 of chapter 1. So it's chapter 1, part 2 about the characters. Please make sure you go back and do that. So when we look at the characters, right, Mr. Underwood, Noah's father, seems like he's passionate about the environment. He cares about the environment, but he acts without thinking. He's kind of rash, is what we would call it. He sank the boat, but in doing so, he created a bit of a mess as well. So, his daughter and wife think he doesn't think things through. Mrs. Underwood, Noah's mother's the opposite. She's responsible. You can see that through how they met. They both had speeding tickets, but she was going like 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit. He was going like 40 miles over the speed limit. So that would be evidence you would use. Mr. Muleman, the one who owns the boat, he clearly is greedy. He cares more about money than the environment. He's willing to dump human waste, feces, into the ocean so he can save some money. His son, Jasper Muleman, is a bully, it seems like. It's literally a direct characterization. Someone says he's a jerk. And then Lice Peking seems to be kind of a rough character, and we're going to learn more about him and his girlfriend Shelley in this chapter. Some of you guys were confused about why Mr. Underwood sank Mr. Muleman's boat. He sank the boat because Mr. Muleman was polluting the waters of the Florida Keys, and hopefully you saw through the book trailer that the Florida Keys is beautiful. There's lots of animals that are very sensitive, and so he's concerned about the sea turtles and all the wildlife and the children swimming. All right, so chapter 3, our questions for chapter 3. There's 3 questions for chapter 3 in the Google Doc, or you can make a video. So first one is, when Noah visits his dad in chapter 3, what did Mr. Underwood tell Noah to offer Lice Peking for his testimony? Why was Noah reluctant to do this? So they have to offer Lice Peking something in exchange for what they're going to ask him to do. So what is that thing? And why doesn't Noah want to offer that up? And then Noah meets Shelley. He has a long conversation with Shelley, Lice Peking's girlfriend, in chapter 3. What is your impression of Shelley? What do you think? What is she like? Do you think she'll end up helping Noah? And then Shelley also gives her opinion of Jasper Jr. What is that? What's her opinion of Jasper Jr.? But the 2 important ones is, what is Noah supposed to offer Lice Peking to persuade him to help them? And then what is Shelley like? What do you think her character is like? All right, so chapter 3, page 24. I can't find a PDF of the book, so I'm just reading along for now. I'm gonna look more this weekend, hopefully come up with something, but just listen along, which is what you guys mostly like to do in class anyway, because I always have to tell you to follow along and you just want to listen. So listen and think about what Noah's going to offer, or supposed to offer, Lice Peking to help, and what is Shelley like. So, chapter 3. By the time they let me visit my father again, the Coral Queen had been pumped dry, mopped clean, and refitted with new gambling equipment. I was hoping Dad wouldn't ask about it, but he did. No way, he exclaimed when I told him that Dusty Muleman was back in action. They must have had 20 guys working on the boat, I said. My father was crushed. I should have taken it out and sunk it in Hawk's Channel, he muttered, or the Gulf Stream. Luckily, we were alone in the interview room. I assumed that my father had convinced the big jolly deputy, and probably everyone else at the jail, that he was harmless and fairly normal. He was good at that. Mom heard you might get transferred to the stockade in Key West. Not anymore, Dad reported in a confidential tone. The lieutenant here likes me. I'm teaching him how to play chess. You play chess? Shh, my father said. He thinks I do. Hey, how's Abby? All right, I said. Tell her to hang in there, Noah. She says you need professional help. Dad sat back and chortled, which means laughed. That's our girl. Did you go see lice peeking? I described my visit to the trailer park. My father wasn't surprised that lice turned down the old truck and wanted money in exchange for providing evidence against Dusty Muleman. Dad, how are you going to pay him when we're flat broke? Excellent question, my father said. See if lice will take my bonefish skiff. It's worth 10 or 12 grand at least. Secretly, I'd been hoping that one day Dad would give me that boat. It was an original Hell's Bay with a 60-horse Merc, a really sweet ride. I guess that means engine. Sometimes, late in the afternoon, my father would take me and Abby out fishing. Even if the snappers weren't biting, we'd stay until sunset, hoping to see the green flash on the horizon. The flash was kind of a legend in the Keys. Some people believed in it and some people didn't. Dad claimed that he'd actually witnessed it once on a cruise to Fort Jefferson. For our fishing expeditions, either Abby or I always brought a camera just in case. We had a stack of pretty sunset pictures, but no green flash. Sorry, needed a sip of water. You sure you want to give away the best skiff? I asked. What the heck? It's the best we can do, Dad said. I guess so. I tried not to sound too bummed. Hey, did you meet the famous Shelley? Yeah, she's kind of scary, I said. Lice said he stole her from Dusty. What did he mean exactly? I figured it was one of those I'll explain it to you when you're older questions that my dad would brush off, but he didn't. Shelley was Dusty's second or third wife, after Jasper Jr.'s mother, he said. Then he paused. Actually, maybe they were only engaged to be married. Anyway, one day she got fed up with Dusty and moved in with lice. I wondered how miserable life with the Mulemans must have been to make lice peeking look like a prize. Dad, when are you coming home? After the trial, he replied. The plan was to use his big day in court to expose Dusty Muleman's illegal polluting. But Mom says you can bail out and come home and still have your trial later. No, I need to stay here and show I'm totally committed to the cause. You know how many jails around this world are full of people who spoke up for what they believed in? And lost their freedom, lost everything they had? Look at Nelson Mandela, my father said. He spent 27 years in a South African prison. 27 years, Noah. A couple of weeks won't hurt me. But Mom misses you, I said. That seemed to catch him off guard and take the steam out of his big speech. Dad looked away. It's a sacrifice, I know. I wish it didn't have to be like this. I didn't say anything about Mom and the plaid suitcase because she'd put it away. That morning, I'd peek in their bedroom closet. Her clothes were still hanging there. So were Dad's. When I stood up to leave, my father perked up slightly. He said, "Oh, I almost forgot. A reporter from the Island Examiner might drop by the house. It's all right for you to speak with him." "About what?" I asked. "My situation." "Oh, sure, Dad." His situation, I thought. Sometimes it's like my father lives on his own weird little planet. So, his dad, because Lice Pekin wants money, and they don't have money to give, Noah's father's going to offer his fishing boat, which is worth like roughly $12,000, because that's really all they have. Unfortunately, it's a really nice boat, and so Noah doesn't want to lose it. So we'll see what happens next. In July, the days get long and stream together. I try not to look at the calendar because I don't want to think about time passing. August comes way too soon, and that's when school starts in Florida. Summer mornings are mostly sunny and still, though by mid-afternoon, huge boiling thunderheads start to build over the Everglades, and the weather can get interesting in a hurry. I've always liked watching the sky drop down like a foamy, purple curtain when a summer storm rumbles across Florida Bay. If you're on the ocean side of the islands, it can sneak up on you from behind, which happens a lot to tourists. That's where we're going, to Thunder Beach. That's where we were going, to Thunder Beach, when a squall rolled through after lunch. Tom, Rado, and I hunkered in the mangroves and held our skateboards over our heads to keep the raindrops out of our eyes. It took like half an hour for the leading edge of the storm to pass. Then the wind dropped out, and the only sound was soft, sleepy drizzle. We crawled from the tree line and brushed the leaves off our arms. Not surprisingly, the lightning had spooked everyone away from the park except us. Before heading to the water, we scanned the shoreline for pollution warnings. Whenever the biologists from the health department find too much bacteria, they post danger signs up and down Thunder Beach. No swimming, no fishing, no everything. Only a certified moron would dive in when the beach was posted. I was glad to see the water was okay, especially when a big loggerhead turtle bobbed up to the surface. The three of us stayed real quiet because we thought the turtle might be coming shore to lay eggs, although usually they waited until dark. Loggerheads have lousy eyesight, so we were pretty sure she didn't notice us sitting there, but she didn't swim any closer. We wouldn't have bothered her if she crawled up to dig a nest. Most of the keys are made of hard coral rock, and there aren't many soft beaches like you find up the coast at Papano or Vero. The mama turtles down here don't have lots of options, so we leave them alone. It's the law, too. After the loggerhead swam off, we jumped in and goofed around until Tom cut his ankle on a broken beer bottle that was buried in the sand. Rado and I helped him hop back to shore, where we tied his Dolphins jersey around his foot to keep the cut from getting dirty. Rado took him home while I skated alone down the old road back towards Lice Peaking's place. Nobody answered the door, and I was already down the steps when Shelley appeared from behind the trailer and nearly scared the you-know-what out of me. She was barefoot and carried a long, rusty shovel. "What did you want now?" she asked. She wore cut-off jeans and a sleeveless top that showed off her barbed wire tattoo. "I need to talk to Mr. Pekin again," I said. "Well, he's not available at the moment." "That's okay, I'll come back another time." Shelley noticed me staring at the shovel. She laughed and said, "Don't worry, it wasn't lice I was putting in a hole. It was last night's dinner." I nodded as if that was the most normal thing in the world, burying food in your backyard. "Lobster shells," she explained. "I don't want them stinking up the garbage, 'cause they're out of season. Next thing you know, some lazy neighbor calls the grouper troopers, and then, Houston, we've got a problem." Some of the locals in the Keys poach a lobster here and there in the off months. Not even my dad gets upset about that. "What you want to talk to Lice for?" Shelley asked. "Just some business between him and my father," I said. She was so much taller than me. I had to tilt my head back just to see her expression. She was smiling when she said, "Important business stuff, huh?" "Yes, ma'am. Come on inside and have something to drink," she said. "No thanks, I'm soaking wet." "So's Lice, but from the inside out." She jerked open the screen door and I followed her into the trailer. Lice Peking was stretched face down on the blue shag carpet, and he wasn't moving. I didn't see any blood, which was a relief, but I couldn't hear him breathing. Shelley said, "Oh, don't worry, he's not dead." She gave a sharp kick to his ribs, and he started to snore again. "See," she said. "Tell me your name again." "Noah Underwood." "You're Payne's oldest?" Payne is his dad's name. "That's right," I said. Shelley tossed me a Coke from the refrigerator and said, "Your dad's a curious specimen." Somehow it sounded like a compliment, meaning he's kind of a weird guy. I guzzled the soda in about 30 seconds while I edged toward the door. The perfume that Shelley had on was making me dizzy. It smelled like a bag of tangerines. She sat down on a cane stool and motioned me to do the same, but I stayed on my feet. I wasn't sure what would happen if Lice Peking woke up, and I wanted to be ready to run. Shelley said, I've known Payne since back when he and Dusty used to fish charters out of Ted's. He was always a gentleman. Your daddy, I mean, not Dusty. Yes, ma'am. How come you're acting so skittery, Noah? Like nervous. I couldn't come out and tell her that she was the reason, that everything about her, from her face to her feet, was at least twice as big as my mother's. So I said, I'm going to be late for violin practice, which was incredibly lame because we don't even own a violin. Abby takes piano lessons on a portable electric keyboard that my father bought from a consignment shop in Key Largo. Now, Noah, Shelley said, that's not the truth, is it? No, ma'am. I'm sorry. Please don't grow up to be one of those men who lie for the sport of it, she said, and most men do. That's a fact. As Shelley spoke, she was staring down at Lice Peking, and not in an admiring way. That's why the world is so messed up, Noah. That's why history books are full of so much heartache and tragedy. Politicians, dictators, kings, phony baloney preachers, most of them are men, and most of them are like rugs. She said, don't you dare to grow up to be like that. So Shelley seems like kind of scary at first, but then she's starting to talk and making a lot of sense, I think. At first I thought she was making fun of me, but then I realized she was serious. Your daddy doesn't drink, does he? She said. That's truly amazing. It was sort of unusual for the Keys. People who didn't know my father automatically assumed he had to be drunk to do some of the things he did. Sorry, I lost my place. Assumed he had to be drunk to do some of the things he did, but he wasn't. He never touched a drop of alcohol, even on New Year's. It wasn't a religious thing, he just didn't care for the taste. Why can't I find a guy like that? Shelley said in a small voice. I couldn't help but notice that she was using Lice Peking's head as a footrest. It didn't seem to bother him, though. He kept snoring away. You go to public school, she said? Then you must know Jasper Jr. Sure, I said. Is that boy still nasty as a pygmy rattler? A snake, I guess? Nastier, I said honestly. Shelley shook her head. He's been that way since he was about 3 foot high. Honestly, I don't see a bright future there. Her mentioning Jasper Jr. reminded me of what my dad said about Shelley and Dusty Muleman, about how she'd gotten so fed up with him that she moved out. I decided to find out if she still felt that way. So we learn here, the third question is, what does Shelley think about Jasper Muleman Jr.? And obviously, a pygmy rattler, some sort of snake. And she doesn't see a bright future for him. So that's the third answer. Didn't you used to work at the Coral Queen, I asked? For almost 3 years, said Shelley. Was it a fun job? She rolled her eyes. Tending bar? Oh yeah, it was a barrel of laughs. Very glamorous too. Come on now, what are you driving at? Meaning, what are you trying to get at? What are you trying to say? Nothing, I swear. There you go again, Noah. Shelley was sharp when it came to sniffing out fibs or lies. So I just came out and asked her, did you ever hear about anything crooked going on with the boat? Crooked? How? Like dumping sewer water into the basin? She laughed in a way that sounded hard and bitter. Sweetie, the only sewage I ever saw was the human kind. That's what you call the downside of my job. So, not nice people, basically. Oh, this has something to do with your old man, doesn't it? About him sinking Dusty's boat. Maybe. It sounded silly as soon as I said it. Maybe. Almost always means yes. Okay, let's hear the whole story. Shelley cocked her head and cupped one of her ears, which had like 5 silver rings in it. Come on, Noah, I'm listening. There was no way I wasn't going to cave in and blab everything. She was a pro at shaking the truth out of guys who were a lot bigger and tougher than I was. But then Lice Peking came to the rescue. He stopped snoring, flopped over on his back, and opened one red, bleary eye. Shelley thumped him with both heels and said, "Get up, you sorry sack of beans, before I park that slimy aquarium on your head." I didn't wait around to see if she was serious. Okay, so chapter 3, right? The questions are, what does Noah's dad ask him to offer Lice Peking in order to help him? What does he offer up? Because Lice Peking wants money. They don't have money. So what does he offer, and how does Noah feel about it? 2, she meets Shelley, Lice Peking's girlfriend. What do you think about her? She seems one way, and then maybe you change your opinion. What is that? What's your opinion, or what's she like? What are some character traits? And question number 3 is, what does Shelley think of Jasper Muleman? Because she used to date his father. So what does she think of Jasper Muleman? Okay. Hope you guys are well. Keep up with your work. We'll have a test on however far we get in this book. We'll have a test on the contents the first week in June. So keep up with your work. Come chat on Google Meets Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 10. Okay. Take care. If you have questions, email me or come on Google Meets. Okay. Thanks.